Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys coming by and checking today's video out. It's always grateful for that around here. And guys, today I'm going to give you some tips and advice for fishing riprap banks in sort of colder water situations like late winter and early spring. Sort of give you guys, a few ideas that's been successful for me and pass it along to you guys here. Also, guys, a big thank you out there to everybody that's been subscribing to the channel. You know, we're really trying hard to reach that 10,000 subscriber mark. So thank you if you've been doing that. And also, guys, a huge, massive thank you to everybody that's been using my tackle warehouse link that's in the description of every video. If you guys need to order fishing equipment, by using that link, it's really helping me out there quite a bit. So thank you for that, everybody that's doing it. Okay, guys, talk a little bit about riprap in cooler water situations. Now, if you guys have followed me very much on this channel or my other channels, you know I talk a lot about riprap at different times of the year. Because guys, riprap is a freaking awesome place to catch fish at. Anywhere in the country you have riprap, there's always bass on it. There's always, not just bass, but there's always a lot of different type of fish on it. And riprap is one of those structures that, one of those rare structures that hold fish 12 months out of the year. But every season, as far as the water temperature, water clarity, and that type of stuff, dictates the techniques and how you want to approach fishing riprap banks. So what I want to do is I sort of want to talk about how to catch them on riprap between like the month of say February and into March, the early season, late winter, pre-spawn, that type of stuff, which is probably one of my favorite ways to fish it as far as times, especially when you're talking about catching bigger fish on there. Guys, riprap, whether you know it or not, riprap is a great place to catch giant fish. In fact, I think the lake record, the Texas state record bass, I think was caught on a riprap bank down at Lake Fork years ago. And I've caught some giants on riprap. One of the biggest, well, actually the biggest string of fish I've ever heard caught at Grand Lake was taken on riprap. Been a lot of tournaments won on it. So how I like to go about fishing it in colder weather depends on two factors. Depends on sort of like the water temperatures and the water clarity in combination with that. So what I want to talk about is two different ways to approach it based upon those two factors there, specifically the water color, because that's going to dictate your techniques and the times that it's really productive. If you are fishing a lake that has water visibility of over, say, 3 feet, say 3.5 feet, something like that, what we consider more on the clean side, probably my favorite way to fish riprap in cold weather is on a jerkbait. Jerkbait is an outstanding way to catch them. It'll catch fish in about any conditions, as far as sunlight conditions or wind, especially that time of year. If those water temperatures are sort of between 45 and 55 degrees, jerkbait is just outstanding. And a lot of different types of jerkbaits. I catch them on, small jerkbaits, medium size, and large ones. A lot of it is based upon like the wind condition. If you have like a south wind in the cold weather with riprap, south wind is like normal temperatures, especially if the wind is blowing, say 10, 15 miles an hour, I usually go to a larger jerkbait like the Megabass, Canada, Megabass, Edo Shine, or something like that. And also if the water temperature, if the water visibility is like that, along with the same water temperatures, and you don't have much wind, that's when I downsize to a smaller jerkbait like the Megabass 110 plus 1 Junior or the X80. It seems like you'll get more fish on those smaller jerkbaits if the wind isn't blowing. Another really good bait to fish on a riprap during the wintertime is a little finesse jig, like a little 5/16 ounce green pumpkin finesse jig in that clear water. Pitching it to the rocks out there, working it down in 5 to 10 foot of water, something like that. And along with the finesse jig, another bait that works really good in a situation like that is a small swim bait, like a little 3 to 4 inch paddle tail swim bait. Same deal, just casting it to the bank, just sort of slow reeling it, try to keep it coming close to those rocks on the way down. And the depth that you need to fish is dependent upon the water clarity. If the water is very clear, like over 6 foot clarity, I'll move out and fish deeper, like into that 10 to 20 foot zone. If that water is deep enough off the end of that riprap, that works really good. So let the water clarity and temperature dictate your techniques. But really the little finesse jig, the jerk bait, and the swim bait are really good if the water's clear. And also pay close attention to, like, if you have a riprap bank underneath a bridge where there's some type of a current that flows through there, that's going to be a key place for you, right on the points of those riprap banks. Now, if the water visibility is under 3 feet, like under 3.5 feet, anywhere between say 1.5 to 3 feet, your number one bait during the cooler weather months is going to be a crankbait. A crankbait fished, slow to medium. A lot of different types of crankbaits will work on off-colored water. A Rapala Shad Rap is really good. A Wiggle Wart is good. One of them has a wide wobble, one of them has a tight wobble. Sometimes a little flat side wooden crankbait can be good. But in general, some type of a smaller crankbait that runs anywhere between say 3 to 5 foot deep. Because if you have less than 3 foot of water visibility on those riprap banks during the cooler water conditions, those fish are going to be shallower. They're going to be living in 5 feet of water or less. So crankbait is one of my number one choices with that. Also, slow rolling the spinnerbait can be really effective. You can take like a 1/2 ounce or 3/4 ounce spinnerbait, slow roll it down those rocky banks, just down the slope, just like you would with the swim bait in the cleaner water. Try to keep that spinnerbait just a foot or so off the bottom, all the way down 5 to 10 foot of water can be really good. And especially if you got closer to 3 foot of water. If you got closer to 3 foot of water visibility, sometimes those fish will get down into 10 feet. But if you got more like 2 foot of water visibility on a riprap, that's when they're going to be in less than 5 foot. So the crankbait and spinnerbait are going to be really good that time under those situations. Also, fishing a chatterbait like that is going to be pretty good too. It's fishing the chatterbait the same way you would with a spinnerbait. The other thing to try, especially if you got right around that 3 foot of clarity, is the Alabama rig. Fishing an Alabama rig anywhere between 5 to 10 feet of water on riprap banks is a great way to catch them. A lot of big fish get taken on Alabama rigs and riprap. And a lot of it just depends, guys, on the angle of the riprap as far as how it drops in the water. Now, the best riprap you're going to find, for the most part, is going to be where you have some type of access to deeper water. So ideally, say if my boat is 10 to 15 foot off the riprap, I like to be sitting in 8 to 12 foot of water. That's like the perfect scenario for that. Although you don't have to have that, especially if the water is a little bit warmer, like in the mid 50s. But if you're dealing with cold water, like the water temperature is under 50 degrees, it's really important to have that deep water access to that. And while the bridge underpasses and the points of the riprap are key features, you can't overlook any part of the riprap, guys. Fish will live on every single inch of a riprap bank. I don't care if it's a bridge riprap or a causeway or riprap between boat docks. They literally use every inch of it. So remember, when you're fishing riprap, is to fish slow and methodical along there and hit every foot along the bank there so you don't miss any. But it's one of my favorite places to fish, guys. Even though I don't like fishing around a lot of people, riprap gets a ton of pressure, but it holds a ton of fish. And it's all about timing, being there at the right time with the right lure. So lure selection is so key with that. So experiment with lure colors, experiment with lure sizes on there, and eventually you'll hit upon what those fish want. And great way to catch big ones this time of year. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later. See you.